Hey, be joyful. Hey, picture with me walking up Elk Avenue and seeing somebody that was new to town and asked me, through a mask, of course, where is a church building here in Crested Butte? And I would immediately think, well, there's 3 buildings that are being used as churches right now that I could point a person to. But if I was to think of it biblically, I'd remember that in the New Testament, the church building is hardly ever referred to. There's a lot of talk about what happens in the building and what happens amongst believers in that context, but not the building itself, except in this sense, in that it says that Christ's church is made up of living stones that are the individual believers that make up the church. So it's a whole different thing. Now, the metaphor of being living stones, creating a church, is something we probably want to be careful about how far we take. We don't want to be squared off just giant blocks of immovable stone. That's not the point. But rather, Peter describes us as living stones like this in verse 4 and 5. As you come to him, he is a living stone, rejected by men, but in the sight of God, chosen and precious. You yourselves are living stones, being built up as a spiritual house, to be a holy priesthood, to offer spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus himself. So there's a lot to see in this passage, and we're going to break it down over the next few living room sessions. But remember, when he says that we're living stones, we're not squared off heavy blocks of granite that never move. Though without him, we might be just that. The real answer I should give someone on the street is not to necessarily point them to a church building of brick and mortar, but to remind them that the spiritual church is built up of living components that are all over this town, that the church is everywhere around him if he knew who the believers were. So have you traditionally seen the building, the facility as the church, that location is the church? And what needs to change in how you think of it? And then what could change today, really, if you saw yourself and individual believers as the building of Christ, the living building that is his church? Give that some thought, and we'll get back together again real soon.